I happen to believe that Stalin was a faithful pupil of Lenin, and really, and this is the reason Lenin picked him to essentially succeed him. It's true that in the last months of his conscious life, Lenin had a quarrel with Stalin and wanted him removed from position of General Secretary. But then Lenin was not in a very normal condition by that time. I think he was suffering stroke after stroke, and he was very paranoid. But it's Lenin who rose into the position of General Secretary, made a member of all three ruling bodies of the party Central Committee. And I really feel that he wanted to fulfill Lenin's program, as he pledged on Lenin's funeral.
I remember my parents were always arguing about politics. My father always liked Nikita Khrushchev, a man who became the leader of our country after Stalin, even when he was dismissed by Brezhnev and no one liked him anymore. My father used to tell me that Khrushchev brought back real Lenin's ideas. He proved that my grandparents and millions of the others vanished in Stalin's camps were innocent and never committed any crime, and that we got a new apartment because of Khrushchev, and that without him we would have still lived in a barrack with 3 other families and had to wait in a line to the bathroom that we shared with our neighbors. I also remember that my mother used to blame Khrushchev that he broke the order that was under Stalin. I don't know if this disagreement between my parents became the reason for their divorce. I just remember that when my father told me that he and Mom were not going to live together anymore, I was in school, singing one of the songs about Uncle Lenin and little eagles whom he taught how to fly. At least, they never argued about Lenin.
There is not at all the awareness of the horrendous crimes for which Lenin was personally responsible. His ruthlessness and the way in which he effectively laid the groundwork for the Stalin system that was to come. That's still not, I don't think, widely appreciated. I have met, for example, Soviet citizens who would now be probably in their 50s or 60s, who, though they rejected totally the Soviet system, still had an idealism, still idealized Lenin, would read his complete works, for example, not because it was an obligation, a duty, but simply because they believed this provided some key to the future, constituted an ideology that was worthy of being implemented, if it could only be, if this were only realistic, in real life, in Russia.
Our teachers always told us that first of all, we had to think about revolution and socialism, and only then about our personal needs. Lenin was completely dedicated to the revolution. His will was that we shouldn't waste our time, and that our personal life has to be secondary to the public one. My school teachers used to say that we should follow the example of Lenin and his only one devoted wife and fellow revolutionary, Nadezhda Krupskaya. When they had spare time from the revolution, they were reading books or listening to the classical music. And I didn't think it happened very often, because otherwise the revolution would have never happened, and I would never become a new human being. One of my classmates told me that Lenin had a mistress, Inessa Armand. I thought it couldn't be true because Lenin was so busy with the revolution and his books. For Lenin, there was no division between public and personal life. I never saw pictures of him kissing or hugging women, even his wife, though he was the one who dramatically changed the role of women in Russian society. Lenin's way of expressing his personal feelings was usually a warm handshake. His successor, Comrade Stalin, sometimes expressed his feelings towards women publicly, at least until the death of his wife. The other leaders of the Soviet Union first continued this tradition. I remember they were shaking hands of our friends at home and abroad. By the time I was born, Comrade Brezhnev improved this communist custom significantly. He quickly moved from dry handshake to a warm bear hug, and then to the exciting 3 kisses on the cheek. First, he started to kiss our party comrades. My father even used to say that the secretaries of our party discovered the new type of sex, general sex, when one general secretary kisses another one. Comrade Brezhnev even moved further, beginning to kiss our potential enemies. He even kissed a couple of American presidents. As far as I remember, he never kissed Reagan.